How to prepare on a tight budget, that's today's topic. Folks, this is Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and this is a video that was requested in my Spanish channel. You know, money is tight everywhere. Latin America is not the exception. So I get this question pretty often. Okay, hey Fernando, how can I prepare if I only have $1,000? A guy was asking in my Spanish channel, hey, I have $3,000 for my budget. How can I prepare? And you may be thinking, hell, that's a lot of money. $3,000? It certainly is. $1,000 also. I think that the average American, like 70%, don't even have like $700 or $1,000 for an emergency. So in this video, I'll go around the $1,000 budget, but stay for it because no matter what budget you have, I'll also explain the priorities, the things that you should be seriously considering spending money on so as to get the most bang per buck, sometimes literally, but especially in terms of practical preparedness, the way I like doing it here in the channel. And the more knowledge you have, the less likely you're to make more expensive mistakes or mistakes that are pretty much a waste of time, that for many of us is even worse than wasting money. Let's get started with the good news. The most important thing in preparedness will not cost you a single cent. Not only is it completely free, it will actually save you money. For the majority of people watching this, there's a good chance that one of the first things you need to do is start losing weight. And if you're already, oh no, I'm already fit. Well, good for you, my friend. You know what you could even do if you are already fit? Try a little bit of fasting. It will be super beneficial for your health. You will feel a lot better. Fasting is super cheap. Fasting saves you money. Fasting costs the pharmaceutical companies a lot of money because it's free, because it's one of the things that has the most beneficial impact for your health, and they cannot sell you a pill to do it. So the first thing you need to understand about preparedness is it's a mental game. It's a way of life. It's not about all of this stuff that we'll talk about here in a second, but the most important aspect is be well mentally, be well physically. Those things are far more important than anything else we'll cover here. So and if you're watching this, you're already starting that journey. If you're watching this, it means that you looked it up or you just clicked on something that interested you. You're looking at something that already shows a different attitude towards being prepared, being ready for when things don't work. So you have my channel. You can subscribe, completely free, learn a lot of things, and keep on researching. That's the first part of this, is a mental game, and will later influence your physical preparedness. You will start to understand why it's important to be healthy, fit, strong. I'm not talking about being an athlete. I'm not talking about being a UFC champion. I'm talking about having a healthy, functional body that gets you through life, gets you through emergencies, and allows you to live a happy, enjoyable life. That's the point. Without that, there's no use to anything else that we do here, okay? But you're looking at the most important thing, not costing you a single cent, all right? That's great news. Now let's start with our $1,000 budget, okay? You have $1,000. How would you spend it? Well, honestly, I would recommend getting my two books, Street Survival Skills and Surviving the Economic Collapse, books that I mentioned in literally all of my videos. These two, it's gonna be $50, give or take, depending on the discount, maybe a little bit less, but let's say that's $50 in those two books. Why am I recommending it? Because I wrote these myself? Of course, yeah, but I mean, if you want to look at a list of stuff to buy, I'll save you the time. That's pretty much items, things, gear that you want to purchase. Go with that. That's always a good start. But more important than the stuff that you should be buying is the skills and the knowledge that reading these two will allow you to acquire, especially in terms of the economic crap going on these days. What I went through in Argentina, that's going to be useful for sure. And Street Survival Skills will teach you how to use lots of these tools, and especially this other tool that is all important. And this brings me to the other item that I recommend you should buy, which is a gun, all right? So books, knowledge, gun. Let's say a Glock. What is it? $500? Oh no, Glocks are super expensive right now. No, Glocks are super cheap. $300, $400 for a used Glock, let's say 500 average. And if it's not a Glock, it could be some other gun. Heck, it could even be a shotgun, or it could be a .22 semi-automatic rifle. whatever it is, for 500 bucks average, you can say you can get yourself a gun. My advice is try buying a used Glock, and that's kind of gonna be on that ballpark number, 500 bucks. Now, again, if you buy this and you don't have this, and by that I mean the knowledge of how to use guns for fighting and the kind of thing you learn in defensive shooting classes, which if you don't have, you will not magically acquire when you need it. Just having a gun and going to the range and having whatever guy is there tell you how to hold a gun, that is not knowledge on how to using a firearm for self-defense. Hell, I would even recommend going with a proper firearms instructor with good reputation in the community. That's always going to be a lot better. But I also understand that most people won't do that. If you're not going to do that, this will definitely help you in at least knowing the basics on how to use these things, the kind of thing that is taught in most classes, at least based on my experience in different classes around the world. The same basics apply, and that's what at the very least you should know. Okay? But besides that, there's a bunch of other things that once you get into this journey, and this will greatly accelerate that learning curve, you'll avoid making mistakes that are expensive, that are wasteful in terms of time as well. You want to focus on things that you need for real preparedness. If you're looking to how is it that I'm gonna be bugging out into the forest and living off the land for the rest of my life while the world burns around me, then we're on different pages. We don't talk about the same thing. I'm talking about realistic, practical preparedness when things don't go your way, when there's disasters, when there's accidents, when there's events, when there's unexpected moments. And because of that, besides recommending my books, the first thing I recommend, because the first big purchase should be this thing, should be your gun. You have your concealed carry license, even better. But having a gun should be the first thing you should procure. It's going to be your major big purchase in preparedness. And this is usually a point in which, you never use it. Food is a lot more important. Medical, this and that. I've gone through all of that stuff, and I know that you cannot replace this when it's needed. If you need food, you probably will find ways of procuring it. It's not going to be easy, but it's rarely the case that people that did not have a good supply of food store end up dying because whatever circumstances occurred. It is a lot more likely, especially given the times we're living in, that if something goes bump in the night, if something attacks you at a moment that you're not prepared, this has no replacement. This combined with this, the knowledge to actually use it properly. So that's the starting point. And because I don't have a big publishing company behind me, I can tell you as it is. If you look at many books out there in the market published by large publishing firms, they have their own editorial line. I have talked with them and they told me, yeah, that stuff, especially when I published this one, yeah, that stuff about get yourself a gun, we cannot have that there. We cannot recommend people to arm themselves. Well, screw that. That's the only way I know how to speak honestly and being clear, especially with something as crucial, something that I know as well as how important it is to be armed when you need it. Okay, so I want to make a lot of emphasis in why is this your main purchase in your budget. All right, let's go to the next point. EDC, everyday carry. EDC, the stuff that we talk about very often here, that's gonna be, let's say, $100. Oh yeah, you could go with $300, $200, you could go with $500 in EDC easily, but you could also go with something like this. $25. I bought this one for $9. Yes, it's a Leatherman PS4. It was on sale. I bought a couple. Somewhat of the same thing. For these two, this is a lighter. It will work just as well as your fancy fire starter for most practical needs. So an EDC can be $25 or $500 or $1,000, right? And maybe that's part of your EDC as well. But my point is, these little tools that you have with you when you need them, that's the key aspect of this. I feel very strongly about having a good multi-tool, and that used to be very expensive. These days, if you go to some of those websites and you find some of these knockoffs, they're no longer knockoffs because the patent has expired, so they're legit copies that are made by someone that is not Leatherman. So for $25, $30, you can get yourself basically copy of a very well-made copy of your Leatherman Wave, which I have shown in previous videos. 25 bucks, give or take, that's gonna be what you're looking at. Now, in terms of the EDC, what's more important? To have a decent flashlight, to have a better folding knife, and maybe your budget, again, with 100 bucks, you can have a little bit of flexibility. You can go with a nicer, this is a Resilience, you have the Tenacious, you have different models. This is Pyroco, this is quality, and it's not super expensive. You have the Delica, which, yeah, it is a little bit more of an expensive knife, but I've also shown the Ganzo, which is a copy of the Delica. Exact same thing, pretty much the same thing, okay? Yeah, it's not the same. Whenever I can, I will go with quality, especially when you have tools that will last you several years. In terms of flashlights, you can go with a no-brand flashlight like this, and this one has lasted me over, I don't know, what is it now, 15, 20 years? Who knows? But it's been my experience that these ones are a lot more likely to fail. So maybe 1 out of 10 or 20 have survived. When you buy brand, that's gonna be a lot more likely to keep going as years go by. So a little O-light, a little through night, that's gonna be my recommendation. I would also say that if you're starting from zero, get yourself a decent little flashlight. And that's gonna be, again, 25 bucks, right? That's gonna be about the number. 25 bucks. You have more expensive flashlights, but you know what? A Petzl of excellent quality, a headlamp that's mandatory the way I see it, to a Petzl headlamp. I just saw it on Amazon, and I'll leave the link below for some of this stuff as well if you want to purchase it in Amazon. I just saw it for 22 bucks. This can change depending on when you see it and so on, and there's promotions, but for 22, 25 bucks, you can get yourself a very decent Petzl headlamp, and that's one of the things I would recommend having. A filter, water, right? Water filter. What is it? 100? Well, you can have one of those straw filters, 20 bucks. Let's go with 25 bucks. The little straw filter is gonna be decent enough. You have some of the little pumps and so on. There's little gadgets that you can attach, but for a basic filter, 25, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending specifically on what you have, but some kind of water filter. It's one of those things that is so important, so crucial, that you just don't want to be without. And if you're starting from zero, that's something you want to take care of. So we're going with 500 bucks for the gun, 100 for your EDC. We have 5, 6, 7. Let's round it up and maybe a little bit more of a wiggle room. Let's make it like an 800 buck, right? You have a little bit of room there for buying a little bit of a nicer thing here and there. You still have 200 bucks of spare cash for emergency, your emergency fund, and that would be what I try to not touch. If I only have 1,000 bucks to prepare, right, I'm gonna be buying this. Oh, but Fernando, you're forgetting about this, you're forgetting about that. Food is so important, you don't have it. Okay, you wanna have what, 100 bucks or 50 or whatever in terms of food? Throw 100 bucks or 50 or 70 bucks into food. What is it you're gonna be buying? Anything fancy? Of course not. Buy your rice, buy your dry pasta. If I had a super limited budget, I would go with 100 bucks of the cheapest dry pasta I could possibly have. I would buy that, seal it in some plastic film or wrap, and put it in a safe place just in case. That would be my emergency food supply in case things go to hell and I just cannot get food any other way. It is generally the case that people don't starve to death because they didn't have a half a year worth of food. It's not the case that it gets to that point. Lots of things have to happen before it gets to that. So this is somewhat of a nice way to organize what you're going to be spending. My advice is this. Again, I insist on this because I'm just humbled by how many people buy my Spanish book, which is this same book in Spanish. These guys are spending $25 on a $300 budget. These guys making $300 a month or $500 a month in South America, they gladly spend 25 bucks on my book because they know how important these things are, because they are coming from the same place I come from. So if those guys consider it that important, it is even more so the case that for you, 50 bucks on these two, it is really something that's going to be putting you way ahead, and I insist, it's going to be saving you a bunch of money that you probably don't need to spend on crap that, yeah, it's marketing, it's promoting things, but there's really not that much of a need. Final point, a good survival knife. Well, I could just go and say, yeah, hell, get yourself my survival knife, made by Aitor in Spain. It's 180 bucks. Fantastic knife, designed it myself, yeah. But you know what? Truth be told, your Mora knife, this is 15 bucks. And it works perfectly well. Yeah, it's a different kind of knife, it's smaller and so on, but if I'm on a limited budget, I wouldn't even buy my own knife. I would buy my books because I honestly think that's certainly something more crucial, but Mora knife, great knife, 15 bucks. I bought a bunch of these knives for 3 bucks a piece. Hultafors, 3 bucks each one. Bought like 5 or 6 or 4, I don't remember how many of these, but I bought numerous of these. You want to have a little bit more expensive? You have your Glock knife, which is fantastic for like 30 bucks. Oh yeah, Glock knife is very nice, but you know what's also nice? Mora all around. You probably haven't even heard of this one. Look at how similar these two are. 20 bucks, 22 bucks, I think. This is a great knife for 20 bucks. And it is longer, it is more stabby if you need something for self-defense, super lightweight, tough, maybe not as tough as your Glock knife, but hell, it is gonna be tough enough for most of your needs. It is a great blade, and yeah, I would definitely go with this. Of course, it's different, it's not the same thing. Mine is thicker, it is just better steel, and there's a lot more of it. So yeah, you can beat the crap out of this thing, everything can eventually break, but this will take a beating, to the extent that this one can obviously cannot. So, and yeah, by the way, if you want to spend your, I think it's 180 bucks for a super high quality stainless steel Boiler N680 knife made in Spain with an awesome sheath and a little survival kit in the pouch and sharpening stone, and even a little knife, a little Skinner knife inside for 180 bucks, I will challenge anyone to find a better deal for the same type of quality. Not crap made in China, but high quality stainless steel made in Europe, right? For 180 bucks, good luck finding something as good as my knife made by Aitor. But again, if you're in a tight budget, maybe you're a lot better suited with your Mora. Maybe this one, maybe one of the smaller ones. Guys, that is my honest approach on how I would invest 1,000 bucks or whatever amount of money in that order, basically. Okay, folks, that's gonna be all for now. Do subscribe to his channel, share with people that you think may find this useful. See you next time. Take care.